It was a rainy February morning, the kind where the clouds hang low and the streets glisten with fresh puddles. People hurried to work, umbrellas in hand, unaware that the day would soon bring news that would ripple across the continent. Suddenly, headlines flashed across Europe, interrupting regular programming and dominating every newsfeed. Northvolt collapses. Europe's battery dreams in jeopardy. The words seemed almost surreal, as if they belonged to a distant future, not the present moment. The story, honestly, spread fast. News anchors in Berlin, Paris, and Brussels looked stunned, their faces reflecting the shock felt by millions. The collapse of Northvolt was not just a business story, it was a headline that struck at the heart of Europe's ambitions. Social media buzzed with disbelief and concern. Was Europe's most promising battery company really finished? People shared articles, speculated about the causes, and wondered what this meant for the future of green technology. The fall of Northvolt sent shockwaves far beyond Sweden, where the company had its headquarters. Investors panicked, watching stock prices tumble and portfolios shrink. The uncertainty spread quickly, affecting not just the battery sector but the entire European tech industry. Politicians held emergency meetings, scrambling to understand the implications. Car companies, who had relied on Northvolt for the batteries powering their next generation of electric vehicles, suddenly faced a daunting question: who would supply the energy for Europe's electric future? The European public, just getting used to cleaner, greener cars, now faced a new uncertainty. Families who had invested in electric vehicles wondered if their choice would still make sense, or if charging stations would soon become relics of a failed dream. Many saw Northvolt as the symbol of Europe's fight for climate leadership and industrial independence. Its collapse was more than a business failure. It was a blow to Europe's ambitions, a setback for the continent's hopes of leading the global transition to clean energy. Some experts even called it the end of Europe's battery revolution. They warned that without Northvolt, Europe risked falling behind in the race to build the technologies of tomorrow. In just a few days, it became clear that Northvolt's troubles were not just about one company. They were about the global race for clean energy, the growing dominance of Asian manufacturers, and Europe's struggle to keep up. The collapse forced everyone, from politicians to ordinary citizens, to ask, what comes next for Europe's green future? For years, Europe's leaders watched with growing anxiety as their continent became increasingly dependent on foreign technology. The stakes were high, and the sense of urgency was palpable in the corridors of power. Their main concern was the reliance on Asian countries for crucial technologies, especially those that would shape the future, like batteries for electric vehicles. Every day, ships arrived at European ports unloading containers filled with advanced components and electronics from Asia, underscoring just how much Europe depended on imports. Batteries are the heart of electric vehicles, and almost all of them came from China, South Korea, or Japan. These countries had built massive factories and developed cutting-edge battery technology, leaving Europe trailing behind. European automakers were forced to rely on Asian suppliers for the most critical part of their electric cars. That's where Northvolt entered the picture. Founded with a bold vision, Northvolt was Europe's answer to this growing challenge. The company set out to break the continent's dependence on foreign suppliers and build a homegrown battery industry from the ground up. Northvolt quickly became a beacon of hope for European industry. It attracted billions of euros in investment from governments, banks, and private investors, all eager to support a European champion. The company promised to create thousands of green jobs, revitalizing local economies and offering a path toward technological independence. Major European automakers, including Volkswagen and BMW, signed up as customers and partners. These partnerships were seen as a turning point, signaling that Europe could finally compete with China and South Korea in battery technology. For a while, optimism was high, and the future looked bright. Northvolt's mission was about more than just business. The company was also crucial for Europe's fight against climate change. Electric vehicles need batteries that are not only powerful and reliable, but also clean and sustainable. Northvolt aimed to set a new standard for green manufacturing. Northvolt promised to build batteries with a much smaller carbon footprint than its Asian rivals, using renewable energy and recycled materials. With Northvolt leading the charge, some experts predicted that Europe could supply a quarter of the world's electric vehicle batteries by 2030, transforming the continent into a global powerhouse. But now, that dream seems further away than ever. Despite the early promise, Europe's hopes for battery independence are facing new and unexpected challenges, leaving many to wonder what comes next. Northvolt began in 2016 in a small Swedish town. Its founders, Peter Carlsson and Paolo Cerruti, were both former Tesla executives. They wanted to build Europe's first large-scale sustainable battery factory, a gigafactory, to rival the best in Asia. From the start, Northvolt attracted attention. Swedish banks, pension funds, and even the European Investment Bank invested heavily. The company raised billions of euros. The Swedish government and local communities supported Northvolt with tax breaks, cheap land, and training programs. Everyone wanted a piece of the battery revolution. Northvolt's founders promised to build not just one, but several gigafactories across Europe. They said these factories would be powered by clean energy. The batteries would be green, using recycled materials and renewable electricity. They aimed to create thousands of jobs and turn sleepy towns into high-tech hubs. The excitement was real. For a while, Northvolt was one of Europe's most watched startups. Northvolt's main factory, Northvolt 1, rose quickly from the forests of northern Sweden. Construction crews worked round the clock. Locals called it the biggest industrial project in decades. Northvolt soon announced plans for more factories in Germany and Poland. There were even talks of plants in Norway and Canada. The company's vision was bold. Northvolt promised to make batteries using hydroelectric power, which is almost carbon-free. It pledged to recycle old batteries and use as many European materials as possible. The company launched Northvolt Labs, a research center to develop new battery chemistries and recycling technology. International investors took notice. Volkswagen and BMW invested billions. Energy companies from France and Italy joined in. Northvolt even partnered with American tech giants to explore new battery designs. Northvolt became the poster child for Europe's green industrial future. Its factories were seen as proof that Europe could compete with Asia and go green at the same time. By 2022, Northvolt was valued at over $12 billion. It made headlines with its first battery deliveries. European automakers called it, quote, a game changer. The company signed long-term contracts with Volkswagen, Scania, and Volvo. These deals were worth tens of billions of euros. Northvolt's success inspired other European battery startups. It led to a wave of new factory announcements across France, Germany, and Italy. Investors lined up to get involved. European governments promised even more support. Some experts said Europe was finally catching up with China and South Korea. The company's green battery branding attracted customers who wanted cleaner supply chains. Northvolt even began exporting small batches of batteries to the United States. It looked like nothing could stop Europe's battery boom. But behind the scenes, pressure was building. Scaling up battery production is hard, costs were rising, and competition from Asia was getting tougher every year. By late 2023, warning signs started to appear. Northvolt announced layoffs at its main factory. Some projects were put on hold. There were reports of technical problems with new battery designs. Production delays worried customers. Rumors of financial trouble began to spread. In early 2024, Northvolt filed for bankruptcy protection in Sweden. Court documents showed the company was running out of cash. Even with billions in investment, costs had spiraled out of control. Delayed deliveries led to canceled orders. Some automakers started looking elsewhere for batteries. The collapse of Northvolt hit the European battery industry hard. Other startups lost access to loans and government grants. Investors pulled back. Some battery suppliers shut down or moved operations to Asia or North America. The mood turned from hope to fear. Was Europe's entire battery push in danger? As bankruptcy unfolded, Northvolt's leadership faced tough choices. The founders resigned. New managers tried to save parts of the business. They sold off Northvolt's most valuable technology and equipment to North American companies. Some staff moved to Canada and the United States, where green subsidies were more generous. European governments scrambled to protect their investments. Sweden and Germany tried to keep key research teams at home, but many experts left for better pay and security abroad. Northvolt's gigafactories in Germany and Poland were halted, then sold off at bargain prices. Supply deals with Volkswagen and BMW were cancelled or renegotiated. The effects rippled across Europe. Towns that had hoped for thousands of jobs now faced layoffs and empty buildings. Suppliers went bankrupt. Investors demanded answers. European automakers began signing new contracts with Asian battery giants. The unraveling of Northvolt left Europe's battery dreams in tatters. It was a hard lesson about the risks of high-tech industries. Why did Northvolt fail? The company once symbolized Europe's hope for a homegrown battery industry, but now its empty parking lots and shuttered doors raise tough questions about the continent's future in this crucial sector. Many blame China for flooding the global market with cheap, high-quality batteries, making it nearly impossible for European startups to compete on price or scale. Chinese battery makers had bigger factories, lower costs, and more control over raw materials. Their supply chains were tightly integrated, allowing them to ramp up production quickly and efficiently. They also had strong support from the Chinese government, which offered subsidies, tax breaks, and policies that encouraged rapid growth. Plus, a huge home market gave them a solid foundation to expand globally. But Northvolt's collapse was not just China's fault. There were deeper challenges at play, ones that affected the entire European battery sector. Battery production is tough everywhere. It requires advanced technology, skilled workers, and constant innovation to keep up with changing demands. Factories are expensive to build and run. The technology evolves rapidly, so investments can become outdated in just a few years, making it a risky business. Customers demand lower prices and higher quality, pushing manufacturers to constantly improve while keeping costs down. The pressure is relentless. Europe's strict regulations and high energy costs made things even harder. Environmental standards, while important, added layers of complexity and expense. Investment was unpredictable, with funding often drying up when projects hit delays. Meanwhile, global supply chains were frequently disrupted by geopolitical tensions and logistical bottlenecks. Now, Europe faces a big question. Can it rebuild its battery industry from the ground up, or will it remain dependent on Asia for the technology that powers its future? Some experts call for more government support, smarter regulations, and coordinated action across the continent to level the playing field. Others argue that Europe should focus on innovation, developing next-generation batteries and unique technologies, rather than trying to outscale China. Still, the shadow of Northvolt's collapse hangs over every new project. Investors and entrepreneurs are wary, knowing how quickly fortunes can change in this volatile industry. Europe's journey is far from over. The continent still has the talent, resources, and ambition to compete, if it can learn from past mistakes. The race for battery independence continues, with every country vying for a piece of the future energy market. Time is running out, and the stakes have never been higher. But for now, the world is watching, and wondering if Europe can catch up before it's too late. The next chapter in the battery revolution is about to be written, and Europe's role is still undecided.